Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be starting a week-long vlog. Today, June 3rd, is the start of Smutathon, and I've been so excited for this readathon. It takes place from June 3rd today until Sunday, June 9th. And there is a large bingo board of all the prompts that you can do. I did a whole video on my TBR for this week and I talked about the bingo board, so I'll link that TBR down below if you kind of are more interested in that bingo board, and I will link Riley and Lainey's channels if you want to see their announcement videos, and probably they're doing vlogs, I assume, so you can check those out down below. So usually when I do vlogs, I do 1 to 2 day vlogs, but I'm doing a whole week, so I'm going to be doing less about my personal life and more just small updates when I finish the books, because I am reading 7 or 8 books for this readathon. I originally only picked out 7 books to read, but then I got a book from the library that would meet one of the challenges, and so I added it on last minute, and so I'm going to try to read 8 books for this readathon. The first book I picked up is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and this meets a plethora of challenges, and this one I'm so far about 50% through, and I'm really enjoying it. I know most of you have already probably heard of this book, but if you haven't already, it is a historical romance, like I said, and it's about a woman named Emma who is a seamstress, and she's kind of struggling financially. She hasn't had a lot of help from family. And then it is about a duke whose name is Duke of Ashland, I believe, and he goes by Ash, and he needs to get married and produce an heir, but he had this really bad burn that happened to him while he was in war, and so his fiance left him. And it turns out that Emma had made the wedding dress for the bride, and she still needs payment for that dress, even though the woman left Ash. And so she goes to his castle in the dress and demands that he pay her for the dress. And while she's there, he proposes that they get married and that she will not have to worry about money anymore, but that they'll produce an heir and it'll be strictly a contractual marriage. And so far I'm loving it. Their banter back and forth is so funny, and I wasn't expecting this to be a kind of comedic novel, and it is. Their banter is just perfect. I didn't know how I would feel about historical romance because I never read it before, but I'm really pleased, and I hope to get to more Tessa Dare in the future because this one so far is really cute. So I will come back a little later to update you once I finish this book and give you my final thoughts. Okay, so I'm back for another update, and I ended up finishing The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and I absolutely loved that book. Like I was saying last clip, I loved the banter between the two main characters. I loved how stubborn and strong-willed the heroine was, and I loved the sarcastic nature of the hero, and their romance was just so good, and I found myself laughing a lot in it, and I almost was tearing up at the end, which I was surprised. And I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and this completed a ton of challenges. So it was different worlds because it is historical romance. It takes place in another country because it takes place in England. And then it's one of the host's favorites. I believe Riley really loves it. It also is a new author to me, out of my comfort zone because it is historical romance and that's not something I generally read. So it definitely hit a ton of different challenges. And I would definitely love to read more Tessa Dare. Probably won't get to any more this week because I have such a big TBR, but I definitely want to continue with the Girl Meets Duke series. So I was trying to decide what book to pick up next, and I chose Intercepted by Alexa Martin. This would fulfill the challenge of reading a book by a person of color, and this one is a sports romance about a girl who's been dating an NFL star for the last 10 years, and she hasn't married him yet. He hasn't proposed, nothing. And I believe they break up, and someone comes onto the team who she's had a one-night stand with before or a relationship with before, and of course it gets a little sticky, a little complicated. So I'm definitely excited for this one. I've read about 30 pages, so I'm about 10% the way through, and I really like it. It has a lot of humor to it, and I like Alexa Martin's writing so far. And her second novel in the series, which is a companion novel, Fumbled, just came out I think in April. So if I like this, I will definitely pick that one up. So I will come back later to update you guys. I don't know if I will do any more updates today. My husband and I are having our friends over and we are going to watch The Bachelorette together. So that should be a lot of fun, but I don't really feel comfortable filming them, and I just don't really know if I'll get to filming the rest of the night. But either I will film later tonight or I will get back to you guys tomorrow and update you guys on my reading. So it is the the next day, I never ended up getting the chance to update last night because by the time my friends left, it was almost 11. So my husband and I just wanted to kind of settle in, and I didn't get any more reading done last night. I was just too exhausted at the end of the evening. It's 11:30 now, and I ended up finishing Intercepted by Alexa Martin this morning. It was a pretty short read. It was only about 300 pages. So like I was saying yesterday, this is a sports romance. The main character's name is Marley, and basically her and her boyfriend break up after he cheats on her, and she is so over dating football guys. But then the Denver Mustangs hire a new quarterback, and his name is Gavin Pope, and it happens to be a man she had a one-night stand with 4 years ago. So of course her plans kind of change and things become really complicated, and she has a lot of drama with all of the spouses of the team. And at first I was really loving this, and I loved the humor in it, but then I noticed it was just all about the drama with the spouses and not a lot about the romance between Gavin and Marley, which kind of disappointed me. And I don't feel like we truly got to know Gavin as a character, and so I didn't really have any feelings toward him. And I just thought it was overly dramatic for most of the book. And the hashtags that were used every page from the character, she like hashtags her own life, and that was just really annoying after a while. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars, but this is Alexa Martin's first book, and I know that, and so I do want to give Fumbled, the second companion novel, a chance, because who knows, her writing might improve over time, and I do think she has a lot of promise. But yes, this one fulfilled the challenge of reading a book by an author of color, and also kind of would be a second chance romance, and it would be a one-word title. And then I got the chance to start a third book, and this is Ache by S.M. Soto, and this is a second chance romance. It's definitely pretty hard-hitting. I'm about 20% done at the moment, and this is about our main character named Bea, and when she was 13 years old, she had a lot of stuff going on in her summer. She has a best friend who lives next door, and her mom gets remarried, and her stepfather and stepbrother move in with them, and her stepbrother is a few years older than her. And then her best friend who lives next door, her cousin who's a couple years older than them, moves in. His name is Liam, and our main character Bea has a huge crush on him, and so you know that it's going to be kind of their romance. But then simultaneously you're seeing that things at home with Bea aren't going so great. She doesn't really get along with her stepbrother, and it's just a lot of change for her. And you're jumping back and forth between when she's 13 and kind of following that timeline, and then currently, I think 9 years later, and her life has just taken a terrible turn. And this one's definitely a more heavier book, and I'm liking it so far. I'm really excited to see where her and Liam's relationship goes. I'm also curious to see when he comes back in the present timeline. I'm going to keep reading this one. Like I said, I'm about 20% the way through. It is a really quick read, so I'm thinking I'll probably finish it today. So when I get more progress or when I finish, I will come back and update you guys. So it's a few hours later. It's about 6 p.m. now, and I just finished Ache by S.M. Soto. This fulfills 3 different challenges. It is a one-word title, it is a second chance romance, and it's a new to me author. So that is awesome. I was able to fulfill 3 challenges with this book. Like I said earlier, it's a second chance romance between Liam and Bea, and Bea met Liam when she was 13 years old when he moved in next door with her best friend. And she was instantly enamored with him, and over the next 3 years they build this romance, and it blossoms, and they're friends and lovers. And then when he's a senior in high school, they get torn apart, and they now have not seen each other for 6 years. And now Bea is 22 years old. She still lives in her childhood home, and she's kind of in her own personal hell. She's going through some really terrible things day in and day out, and she kind of doesn't feel her life is worth living, and she doesn't really know what to do to gain her independence back. And just when she's kind of coming to this realization of she needs to make a change in her life, Liam shows back up next door and moves back in next door, and it kind of throws Bea for a loop, and it's their second chance romance. And this was a really hard-hitting book. It tackles some really serious topics, trigger warnings for things like childhood and adulthood sexual abuse, sexual assault. It was really hard to read, but I really liked seeing the growth with Bea. She was a completely different person at the end of the book than she was in the beginning, as well as the romance between her and Liam, which I really did like. I was expecting to feel a huge emotional response toward the topic because I was reading reviews and a lot of people felt really emotional with it, and I personally didn't. It didn't make me cry or anything, and so for that reason I didn't give it quite 5 stars, because I wasn't like in love with their romance and I didn't feel this visceral emotional reaction, but I still gave it 4 stars and I do recommend it, and I would love to read more by S.M. Soto. So tomorrow I won't have a lot of time to read. My friend is getting married this summer and her dress fitting is tomorrow, and I'm coming with her. I'm one of her bridesmaids. And so I won't really have much time to read because it's an hour away, or over an hour away is where her bridal shop is. And so basically we're going to be doing that, and I won't have a lot of time to read. So I'm going to try and get some more reading done tonight, and I'm not really sure which book I want to read. I'm thinking another ebook, so either Him by SARINA BOWEN and ELLE Kennedy. This one is a male-male college romance. I think it's hockey. And then I also have Make Me Bad by R.S. Gray, which is a rom-com, which might be a really nice comedic relief after this really heavy book by S.M. Soto. So maybe that one. Physically, I have The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and that one's out from the library, so I'd like to get it done. And then I have The Unhoneymooners physically by Christina Lauren, and that one just also sounds like really lighthearted and a lot of fun. I also have Irresistible by Melanie Harlow, and this is a forbidden romance, but it's more lighthearted in regard to the forbidden aspect. It's between employer and someone he hires. And so it's not like a super taboo forbidden romance. So that one could be nice and lighthearted. I really do like Melanie Harlow. I think there's 1 or 2 others on my TBR, but I think I might read something on my Kindle just because it's super easy when I'm hanging out in bed to just read on my Kindle. So I don't know if I'm going to update again tonight. I might just relax and hang out with my family and then update you guys once I make progress in another book. Okay, so it's about 10 o'clock on Wednesday. I never got a chance to update you guys last night, but I did pick a book and I started it last night, and I chose Irresistible by Melanie Harlow. This is the first book in the Cloverleaf Farm series, and it kind of is a crossover series to the One and Only series by her that I just finished. The main character in this story was featured in the 3rd book, and so I was really happy to see this Cloverleaf Farms business as well as this main character. His name is Mac, and he's the CFO for Cloverleaf Farms. They have a winery, they do weddings, they have an inn, so they're just kind of this all-encompassing business, and he is recently a single father. He has 3 daughters, and I think they're all under the age of 12, and his wife up and left them 9 months previously, and so he's kind of adjusting to having this more hectic life and being a single father and having all the burden of that on his shoulders alone. And then the main female lead of this story would be Franny. She's 27 years old, and she is a Sawyer. She's one of 5 sisters. She's the baby sister, and she's always felt kind of left behind by her sisters. They all are married and having kids and kind of doing their own thing. And even if they're not married, they're just more independent. And because of a heart condition, her parents always sheltered her. So she never traveled or moved out or went to college. So she kind of feels stifled by her life, and she really wants to branch out and become more independent because she's nearing 30 years old. She works at the inn and the restaurant, and she's always had a crush on Mac, and little does she know, he has some feelings for her as well. And she nannies the 3 daughters that he has because obviously he needs some help. And because his usual nanny is injured, she decides to nanny more often for him. So they are kind of in each other's lives more. And it's definitely a forbidden romance because they work together. She's the boss's daughter. There's a 10-year age gap. She's 27, he's 37. But of course, it is their romance. I really like the plotline of this book, and I love any book that has to do with food. And the main character, Franny, she loves to bake and she wants to open her own bakery. So she talks a lot about baking and food, and I love that. And I'm about 75% of the way through. I'll probably finish the remainder of the book once I get home from my friend's dress fitting. I'll be gone most of the afternoon. Avery and I will be out doing that, but I think I'll only have to read another hour or so and then I'll be finished. So I will be back once I do that. Okay, so it's definitely a few hours later. It's about 6 p.m. I'm back from my very long day. It was almost 100 degrees outside and I was baby wearing Avery. And so, yeah, I'm just a little beat from the heat. But I did end up finishing Irresistible by Melanie Harlow a little while ago, and I really liked this story. Like I was saying, it's kind of low-key forbidden, a single dad romance. And I really enjoyed the romance between the two main characters, Mac and Franny. I wish there was a little more emotional depth in their relationship. I felt like a lot of it was about their physical attraction to each other. But with that said, I still really enjoyed their romance. And I really liked Franny as a character. I think her personality really shined. I liked seeing her drive to become more independent, and I kind of liked seeing her take action and stand up for herself. And so that's something I really liked about this story. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, and I can't wait to see where the series goes. And this fulfills the challenge of a one-word title as well as a forbidden romance. And then I was going to start another book on my TBR, but I did get an ARC for On the Rocks by Candy Steiner, and that comes out on June 13th, so really soon. Candy Steiner's books are available on Kindle Unlimited, so when it comes out on the 13th, you can read it through there if you have the subscription. And this is a bad boy romance about a girl who is supposed to be marrying a politician. She's the mayor's daughter in a small town, but she's always had this thing for a bad boy in town who everyone has warned her against. And she's about to get married, but she's kind of feeling conflicted because this guy is back in her life. So I think that's what it is about, and I really want to read this, and it could count for the bad boy romance trope. So I do already have Make Me Bad on my TBR to read for that trope, but I think I could probably read both of them, so I might try to read both. I'm just so excited for Candy's new books. I love her writing. So yeah, I think I'm going to start that one, and then I will check back in with you guys later. Okay guys, so it's the next day. It is now Thursday, day number 4 of Smutathon. I didn't get a chance to do any more reading last night. I was just so exhausted. I didn't really explain, but when I went to my friend's dress fitting, it was over an hour's drive away, and it was almost 100 degrees outside, and I was wearing Avery on my chest in a baby carrier, and I was just really overheated and exhausted from walking around. And so when I got home, I helped make dinner and hang out with my husband and kind of just unwound and fell asleep kind of when my head hit the pillow. And so I didn't get any more reading done last night. But this morning I did start On the Rocks by Candy Steiner, and I'm about 33% done with it, and so far I'm really liking it. So the two main characters are Ruby Grace, who is a southern kind of socialite. Her dad is the mayor of Stratford, which is their small town in Tennessee. And she's kind of being raised to be a Southern belle, and now she's 19 years old and engaged to be married to a future politician. He's kind of in the political circle. And so she's kind of giving up her dreams of being independent to settle down kind of early and follow the dreams of her family. And our hero of this story is Noah. He's the town's bad boy, and he works at the local whiskey distillery as a barrel raiser, so he makes all of the barrels for their whiskey. And the two characters meet when Ruby Grace goes to the distillery to get a gift for her fiance, and her and Noah have this funny banter together. And of course the two characters keep running into each other, and there's a spark between them even if neither of them want to admit it. And even though everyone thinks Noah is a bad boy and warns Ruby Grace against him, she sees another side of him that no one else does, and she thinks that he understands her in a way that no one else understands her. And a friendship forms between Noah and Ruby Grace, but of course, you know, a romance is going to start. Their romance is going to be the bad boy, good girl dynamic. He's pretty misunderstood, and she's trying to meet the needs of her family and live up to expectations, and so they are going to have this amazing romance. I can just tell. Like I said, I'm only about 1/3 of the way done, so I will come back and update you guys once I get a little bit further. So it's about 8 p.m. now, and I finished On the Rocks by Candy Steiner a couple of hours ago. I really liked the two main characters, Noah and Ruby Grace. I thought their romance was really good, and the story gave me a little bit of Runaway Bride vibes, the movie with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, and I love that movie, so I really liked this about the story. And I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. It had the perfect amount of romance and steam. It wasn't overly steamy, and I just thought it was overall really good. It was a really quick read. It wasn't quite a 5-star read for me, but I did really enjoy it, and I'm really excited because it's the first book in a new series by Candy Steiner, so it's not a standalone novel. The main character, Noah, has 3 other brothers, and so I assume each brother will get his own book. And the next book is about his brother Logan, who also works at the distillery with him, who's only a couple years younger than him. So I'm really excited for that one, and it'll be out this fall. So now I think I'm going to read one of my physical books on my TBR. I have 2 of them. That way I can let my Kindle charge a little bit because I've been reading a ton on my Kindle. So the first one I have to read is The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and this is the second book in her companion series. And the third book just came out, and I recently just read the first book. And this one I've heard is really good, and it is about a woman who goes to a baseball game with her boyfriend, and he proposes to her, but she's not about it. She does not want to get married to him, and some other guy at the stadium kind of comes to her rescue is what I've heard about it. Sounds really cute, really funny, so I might choose this one. And it's just a little over 300 pages, which is perfect. The other one I have is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This one's a little bit longer. It's closer to 400 pages, but the text on it is pretty large, so I assume it'll go by really quickly. I've heard so many things about this book. It's so hyped up right now, but I've heard that people have really been enjoying it, so I have really high hopes. I already knew it was a hate-to-love romance between 2 people in the same wedding party, but as I was hearing more about it, the 2 main characters all live. She is the twin of the bride and the maid of honor, and the guy in the story is Ethan, and he's the best man and maybe the brother of the groom, not 100% on that, but they end up taking this vacation together, and I assume it's their romance. I love this cover, so I really want to pick this one up. This screams summer to me. So I might do this one first. I don't know. I'm having a hard time deciding because the other one needs to go back to the library, but this one I've just been so excited for. Either way, I'm going to read them both within the next couple of days, but yes, I need to make a decision. Then I will come back and update you guys. Hi guys, so it's the next day. I didn't get a chance to update you guys last night. I did end up picking up The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Before falling asleep last night, I only read about 35 pages, so not really enough to update, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was kind of knocked out. I was really exhausted, so didn't get much reading done last night. But I did end up picking it back up this morning, and I finished it. It was a super quick read. Even though it is almost 400 pages, the text is pretty large in here and the pages aren't really big, and so for some reason it just breezed by, and I really ended up loving this book. This one fulfills 3 different challenges for Smutathon. It is a fake dating, kind of fake relationship, hate to love, and then also a traveling vacation romance. And like I said, I loved this one. I'm sure you guys know all about what it's about. And I just thought it was so humorous. It made me laugh out loud a bunch of times. And I loved the witty banter between the 2 main characters. The 2 main people are Olive and Ethan, and they make these nicknames for each other that are plays on their actual names, and I thought that was so funny, and I just loved their kind of sarcastic relationship, and I think that was my favorite part about this book. And the kind of dramatic element to it, I think, was kind of realistic, and I enjoyed it. And so this one I ended up actually giving 5 stars, which I'm surprised by because the last few Christina Laurens I've read, I've really enjoyed, but I only gave them 4 stars. So I was so pleased that I gave this one 5 stars. And I just started another book on my Kindle. I ended up picking up Him by SARINA, BOWEN, and ELLE Kennedy. And this one I'm only about 15% through. I don't think it's a super long book. But yeah, I'm only about 15% of the way through, and this is a male-male sports romance, a hockey romance in particular, and this one is new adult because both of the main characters are in college. I don't read too many new adult romances. Usually I read adult romances, but occasionally I do like to read a good new adult romance, and so I'm really excited to pick up this one and read it. So far, I'm really liking the relationship between the 2 main characters who are both on competing college hockey teams, and they used to go to summer camp together back in like middle school and high school, and now their friendship is no longer kind of there, and it's been 4 years since they've seen each other, and they are back together because their teams are playing each other, and their relationship as friends kind of sparks back up, and you know that it's going to turn into more. And so far I'm really liking it. I know it's a duet, so I'm curious if it's going to leave on like a cliffhanger. But yeah, I will read some more of this and then I will get back to you. Okay, so I'm doing my last check-in for today. I know I didn't check in a lot today, but I've just been pretty busy. It's now about 10 p.m. and I'm about to go to bed. and I'm being a little quiet because my daughter is going to sleep. I'm halfway through Him by SARINA BOWEN and ELLE Kennedy, and I'm really enjoying this story. Like I said earlier, it's about two friends who both play hockey and they haven't spoken in 4 years, and now their friendship is rekindled, and they both end up coaching at the same hockey camp. And it's the same hockey camp, I think, where they met and they went to for years together. And they are roommates there, and you can kind of imagine a romance is rekindled while they're there. And it is so good. It's actually a lot steamier than I expected it to be, but I'm not surprised because it is new adult, and new adult tends to be rather steamy. And guys, it's so steamy, so I'm really enjoying it. I wasn't really knowing what I was going into. I haven't read anything by either of these authors, and so far loving it. So I'm going to go to bed, and I will update you guys tomorrow once they make a little more headway. Okay, so it's the next day. It is Saturday, day number 6 of Smutathon. I can't believe the readathon is coming to a close, and it is 10 a.m. and I finished Him by SARINA BOWEN and ELLE Kennedy. Like I said last night, I was at the halfway mark, and then I finished the second half this morning. It reads pretty quick, and I have to say I really enjoyed this book. I don't generally read male-male romance or new adult too often, and I kind of forgot how steamy new adult romance can be, and this was definitely super steamy, probably one of the steamiest books I've read in a long time, and I read a lot of steamy books. And I really did like it. I loved the romance between Wes and Jamie, and I know it's the first in a duet, so I'm really excited to finish this duet. And I think I'm going to read the second part of the duet when I participate in Romanceathon later this month. So yeah, overall this was such a great story, and I can't wait to see their romance continue. So now I only have 2 books left. I have The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and I think I'm going to read that one first because I need to return it to the library. And then after that I have Make Me Bad by R.S. Gray, and I'm really excited to read this one as well. R.S. Gray just had a new book come out, so I'm kind of tempted to read that, but I'm trying to stick to my TBR because I've been meaning to read this one for a while. I'm going to get some headway into The Proposal, and then I will come back and update you guys. So it's 5:30 now, and I ended up picking up The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and so far I'm 120 pages in, so I'm a little over a third of the way through, and I'm liking it so far. It is the second in a companion series. The first one was called The Wedding Date, and I loved that one, so I was really excited to pick this up. It does include a character that was in the first book. His name is Carlos, and he is a pediatrician, and he was a co-worker and friend of the main guy in The Wedding Date. And this is about a girl named Nick who goes to a baseball game with her boyfriend, and he ends up proposing to her on the big screen over the field, and they'd only been dating a few months, and she wasn't in love with him, and so she says no, and it's a whole awkward situation, and he kind of storms off with his friends, and she's kind of left there to deal with it alone, and she's basically rushed by all these cameramen, and the other people behind her come to save her, and that would be Carlos and his sister. They basically go there and they save her from all these camera people to kind of get her out of the stadium and give her some freedom from all this situation. And of course, her and Carlos keep in touch, and they start going on dates, and there's a romance that forms between them, and it's really cute. I'm really liking it so far. It's a pretty quick read, and I hope I'm able to finish this either tonight or early tomorrow. Okay, so it's the last day of Smutathon, and I didn't get a chance to update you guys with my reading last night. I ended up finishing and powering through The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory, and this one is, like I said, the second book in the Wedding Date series, and I ended up really enjoying this kind of rom-com book. I didn't like it quite as much as the first book in the series, The Wedding Date, but I did really enjoy it, and I think Carlos, the hero of the story, really made it for me. I didn't love Nick. She wasn't my favorite heroine, but I still really did enjoy it, and I can't wait to read the rest of the series. And this one I ended up giving 4 stars. And then this morning I started and ended up finishing Make Me Bad by R.S. Gray. I just kind of powered through this one, and I love R.S. Gray. I think she writes amazing rom-coms. This one to me was not my favorite by her. I think where she shines, because now I've read 4 of her books, is her enemies to lovers romances. Those ones I loved. And then I've read a couple that were a little different from that trope and I didn't like them as much, and this is one of them. I think this is possibly my least favorite R.S. Grey that I've read so far. This is about a girl named Madison who she just turned 25, and on her birthday she makes a birthday wish that she wants her life to be more exciting because she's lived a very sheltered life. Her brother and her dad are cops and they really protect her. She still has her virginity. She works at a library. She just doesn't really do anything exciting. And on her way home on her birthday, she gets held at gunpoint, and it was not the kind of excitement she was looking for. And a guy kind of comes to her rescue, and his name is Ben, and he's well known around their small town. He's really well to do and successful, but he's seen as like a bad boy, and her family really doesn't like him, and she gets saved by him. And they don't expect to see each other again. And Ben ends up having to do some community service, and he goes to the library to fulfill it and has no idea that Madison works there. So they have this like meet cute again, and she says, okay, you can come work with me as long as you teach me how to be bad, because I want to break out of my shell, and clearly you know how to be bad. So it is their romance, and it was cute, but I don't know, I'm not sure what made me not like it that much. I think maybe I'm just a little romanced out right now, like I've read so many, but I think the premise of this just wasn't my favorite. I didn't love Madison's family. I thought they were a little overbearing, and I'm not always a fan of like the virgin trope where someone is like so innocent, and she's my age, 25, and for me, I was just like, meh, it was okay for me. So I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I still did like it, but it was not my favorite by this author. It's only about noon now, so I know I still have more of the day to read if I wanted to, but I did already read 9 books for Smutathon, and I completed all the books I had on my TBR plus 1 to 2 extra books. So I feel pretty good about that, and I think I'm going to end the vlog here and kind of move on from Smutathon. I do have some thriller arcs and things I need to get to before Buzzwordathon starts in the middle of next week. So I think I'm just going to end Smutathon here. So I'm going to go over all the books that I read and what I rated them and what challenges they fulfilled. I'm going to link all the books down below, and I'm going to have a dedicated video just as a wrap up. But like I said, I'm just going to quickly go over everything. So the first book that I read is The Duchess Deal by Tessa Dare, and this is the first book in the Girl Meets Duke series. This one I ended up giving 4 stars. And this one fulfills the challenges of other worlds, taking place in a foreign country, new to me author, out of my comfort zone, and a host favorite book. The next book that I read is Intercepted by Alexa Martin. This one is the first book in the Playbook series, and I gave it 3 stars. And this fulfills 2 challenges. The first is a one-word title, and then the second is reading a book by a person of color author. The third book that I read is Ache by S.M. Soto. I ended up giving this one 4 stars, and this completes the challenges of one-word title as well as a new-to-me author and a second chance romance. The fourth book is Irresistible by Melanie Harlow. This is the first book in the Cloverleaf Farms series. This one I gave 4 stars, and it fulfills the challenge of one-word title as well as a forbidden romance. The next book that I read is On the Rocks by Candy Steiner, and this is the first in an unnamed new series, and I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars, and it fulfills the challenge of a bad boy romance. The 6th book that I finished is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I loved this one. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It fulfills 3 different challenges, so it's a vacation, traveling romance, also an enemies to lovers, as well as a fake relationship. Book number 7 is Him by Elle Kennedy and SARINA BOWEN. This is the first in the Him duet, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. This fulfills a few different challenges. It's a new-to-me author because I hadn't read either of these authors before, a one-word title, it's a friends to lovers trope, as well as an LGBTQ+ book. Book number 8 is The Proposal by Jasmine Guillory. This is the second book in the Wedding Date series, and this one I gave 4 stars, and this fulfills the challenge of reading a book by a person of color. The 9th and final book I read is Make Me Bad by R.S. Grey, and this one I gave 3.5 stars, and the challenge this fulfills is a bad boy romance. So I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I know it's a little bit on the long side. Like I said, I will link all these books down below, and I will see you guys on my next one. Bye.